My next guest is going to be in the main event of Showcase MMA 19 coming up this Saturday. Tanner Saraceno back here on the program. Tanner, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. How you doing?
Doing very well, but I'm not fighting in a main event on Saturday. Tell me how this all came together with you getting a main event opportunity like this.
So back in my my hometown where I'm living now, so it's kind of just back to what I do, and it's been a while. I had a change of opponent recently. I think like a week and a half ago, something like that. And, excited to get back in that cage. It's been a long time. I
was going to say, you didn't fight at all in 2020. Was that, just difficulty getting fights, or was that by design? Why didn't you compete at all last year? Obviously, we have a pandemic, but still.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, the damn COVID screwing stuff up. A lot of local promotions. We don't have a ton right now locally. So thank goodness Casey's coming back to Greenville and starting to put on shows. And it just kind of worked out where I had one little injury that was a setback of like a month or so. But other than that, it was just kind of lack of ability to find opponents and find promotions locally and stuff like that.
No, it was tough. I remember when the pandemic hit, I was like, man, do I ever feel for these regional fighters? Because it's just, a lot of them rely on that live gate. So glad to see you get a fight here. You mentioned a switch up an opponent. Who were you originally supposed to face on Saturday? I was curious about that.
I was supposed to fight George Shepard.
Okay, gotcha. So George is off, so now you got a new opponent. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Zac Kelley.
Zac Kelley, okay.
Yeah, we were offered a handful of people, and we ended up accepting a bunch of them, and then a few turned it down from what I understand. So, the promoter reached out about Zac Kelley, and he accepted the fight. He's got his medicals ready to go, so we accepted right away, and we're excited to get back in the cage. It's been about a 2-year layoff. It'll be actually 1 year and I think like 10 and a half or 11 months, somewhere right around there. So we're excited to get back in that cage.
That's great. This is the same Zac Kelley who fought for LFA, right? He fought Elijah Johns, who's Miles Johns' brother, the UFC bantamweight, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Not terribly positive. I haven't looked into him a whole heck of a lot. To be honest with you, we kind of just accepted fights, and it is what it is at that point. I was focused on me. I'm prepared to fight. Weight's good. Conditioning's good. I'm healthy, so I just need to fight.
No, and that's great to see that. And that's, by the way, shout out to Showcase. One of the great things they do is they always have backups in place. We had this last week, right, with the Chandler Cole fight. He had his opponent fall out. They had someone step in. So good on Casey and the whole team over there for doing that up. What would you say you've improved on the most since the last time we saw you in the cage? Because I know obviously you've had the time off. I know you've been putting the time in at the gym.
I think a lot of my striking. I can hit hard, but obviously being a wrestling base, if I get hit, it just instincts you go into grappling. So we focused a lot on just kind of me putting myself in positions where I was, kind of allowing myself to get hit and force myself stay on the feet, regain, being in the pocket, regain your composure, going back into your hands and kicks and stuff like that, maybe tying up, but not going straight into takedowns, going straight to the ground, kind of just focusing on you have the hands, they're there, you can move, you can kick, and just forcing myself to do it.
What have you learned the most from your last two fights? We talked about the improvements you've made, but the guy you just lost who's got signed to the UFC, you're fighting. You look at your record, a lot of tough opponents during that stretch in terms of level of opposition. So what have you taken away the most?
I know I'm at that top level. There's a few, I think lack of focus is probably one of the biggest things that's kind of just, I get my mind in too many places. I own a small business, which is staying pretty busy. So I have employees I'm worrying about there. I have a wife at home who I don't give nearly enough time to, and she puts up with my crap. So we have a new baby, 11 months old. So got a lot going on, and just being able to kind of prioritize my time a bit and focus more. I think that's what I was lacking, is stretching myself too thin and not giving myself enough time. But like you said, a lot of my losses, I think two of them at least are signed to the UFC by now. My last opponent, just two of them were former UFC vets. My last opponent, he actually just won the LFA middleweight title, I think this past weekend. So, I'm losing to tough guys, but every time I see him, there's just like a little thing I could have done different to put me on a different path towards that fight, and I think I'm finally dialing that in.
Training camp, who have you been working with leading into this fight?
So, I'm still with my head coach, Jimmy Fowler at Revolution Martial Arts, and the fight doctors, and, just training at my gym mostly. We have a few guys coming in. My main training partner is Noah Lindsay, who's going to be on this card. Young kid. He was working for me for a few years. And he actually just recently stopped working for me, so he can kind of focus more on his training. But he's a solid training partner for me, and he's young, and he's going to do some big things in the MMA world. So he's probably one of my top training partners. Joel Maddock, he's also right in there, and he's fighting this weekend as well. And then actually Dylan Abernathy, he's our recently promoted black belt at the gym. He's there pushing me in my conditioning and my jiu-jitsu as well.
And imagine the weight cut's going well. Seem like you're in a good mood. You got to make weight in a few days. Everything on pace?
Yeah, I actually just planned it out where I just finished eating before I got on the phone with you.
There you go. That's good. Glad we all work this out.
The doctors, they've got it down to a science where obviously weight cutting isn't fun no matter how you do it, but they've got it down to I've cut weight for a lot of years, and this is the best way and the easiest way to do it. How's
this fight playing out on Saturday? How do you envision it going down?
I really am forcing myself to stay on my feet. I'm sure eventually I'll get to the ground. It's just by nature. But okay. I'm really focusing on staying on my feet and using my strikes and my movement to get a nice highlight reel knockout. I think I'm right in the sign right there. Or signing. Did you break up?
No, I'm good. I got you there.
Okay, you got me? Okay. A call just came through, but I ended it. But I think I'm right there on the cusp of just a couple more wins. I can get that major promotion signing, and I think I'm just lacking a few highlight reel finishes. I've got 7 wins and 7 finishes. All my wins come from finishes, so that's good. And I think I just need some highlight stuff material.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you get the win here, that's 8-5. You get maybe 1 more, 2 more. Then, you're starting to get that type of record that is appealing to the, the bigger promotions. Is that kind of what you're seeing here? Just keep active in 2021. And then maybe by the end of the year, we are talking about a Bellator UFC fight.
Yeah. That's definitely on my mind. One's another great promotion I wouldn't mind fighting for as well.
Get some frequent flyer miles. You might as well, right?
Yeah. There you go. I love traveling. I love traveling, especially for fights. It's one of the biggest things it gives you is, that just ability to travel and see the world. I love different cultures and stuff like that. So, that's definitely an option. I think a couple more wins will put me on that path. I've felt myself with my improvements that I've lacked in my few losses, and those are to, top level guys. Sean Bray's one of them. He's
fighting Kevin Lee. I mean, this guy's he hasn't lost yet, right? So.
Yeah. He did, and I feel a few things I changed in that fight. And granted, he did get me a fast submission, but I felt good in that fight. I think a few things I focused on changing. I've definitely got an eye on him. I know he's past me, and he's working on future things, which is obviously understandable. But he's actually one of my motivators that I feel good about that rematch, and I'm working my way back up there. Obviously, it's not happening, next week, but that's what I'm working towards. Avenging those losses to those top guys who have been signed and, future signings. So that's what I'm working towards. And I think a couple more wins and I'm close to that.
Before we go, something we talked about in our very first interview, this was years ago, was I know you were part of Tough Enough Pro Wrestling. Is that something that's even on your radar anymore, Pro Wrestling? Because I'll tell you what's cool for me lately. I grew up a pro wrestling fan. They're starting to put out these A&E biographies on like Shawn Michaels and Ultimate Warrior. Have you seen any of that? They've done a really good job with them. Even Dark Side of the Ring as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I still stay in touch with some of the competitors from the show. Mm-hmm. Josh, he has a little bit of MMA. I think he's got some interest in getting into the MMA world. He was the one who won the show.
That's right.
Mata's another big guy. He's doing some great things. And I still stay in touch with them. As far as the organizations themselves, nothing's out of the question. There's obviously MMA is my priority and my main focus. But yeah, there's nothing like out of the question, but I haven't heard back from them. If they're looking or interested, I haven't, heard it, but maybe one championship. I know it's a lot bigger out there. That may be something they're interested in, something like that. But, we never know what the future holds.
Are you watching any pro wrestling or even sort of keeping tabs on it anymore, or is it too tough to keep up with?
Nothing I follow. I mean, I barely follow, like fights.
I know. Well, they're on every weekend, right? It's tough. Even for me, I cover it full time. Even I'm enjoying the break that we're going to be having here this Saturday with no UFC, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, I watch fights, but I mean, I couldn't tell you who's fighting in what weight class and when, stuff like that. I got a lot on my mind, with my family, my business, and my personal training. I can't follow like fantasy football leagues. I don't know how people do stuff like that. It's just too much for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got to be watching this card Saturday, Showcase MMA 19. Looking forward to it, Tanner. Thanks so much for the time. You just mentioned it there. You're super busy, so appreciate the time. Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, absolutely. All my fans, I've had tons of messages coming my way over the past couple of years about me fighting, and fans, I just got a message the other day, a fan from Russia asked me if I was getting back into wrestling and stuff, so definitely thank you to all my fans out there at my gym, Revolution Martial Arts, and the Fight Doctors. I mean, without those guys, I wouldn't be where I am today, and just they're incredible people, and they do everything they can to help you reach your goals.
Awesome.
And my wife. I should have said that first. She's probably listening in the other room. My wife. My wife is. I mean, I don't know how she puts up with my my schedule. I mean, I work all day. I train all night. She takes care of the house, takes care of the baby, and the dogs. We got 3 dogs and a cat, and she does it all. So she's my biggest supporter.